these desolate sands, a dragon has been sighted.
That's just enormous.
A monstrous reptile from the ancient past.
That is just amazing.
Perhaps the largest crocodile ever to walk the earth. Now paleontologist Paul Sereno begins a quest to understand this creature.
Some muzzle.
To capture the essence of the beast, simply assembling the bones will not be enough. Paul must get his hands on the creature's living relatives in order to rebuild it. Claws, teeth, flesh and all. To do so, he will team up with modern crocodile specialist Brady Barr. Their mission will take them around the world and bring them into close contact with some of the world's most fearsome crocodiles. From the huge crocs of Costa Rica to India's rare gharial. On their journey, they will draw on the latest surprising research into today's crocodiles.
2,125 pounds.
Will these awesome creatures give up the clues Paul and Brady need to understand the prehistoric beast? To solve the riddle of its bones? To discover just how huge it was? To rebuild the SuperCroc? This is a land of dead things. The domain of bone hunters, paleontologists. They have found the skull of an ancient and monstrous reptile. News of the discovery has spread beyond the desert. It has lured here a man more accustomed to the watery world of today's crocodiles. National Geographic field specialist, Dr. Brady Barr. Brady has traveled many thousands of miles to the country of Niger. To a land of camels and Tuareg nomads. Brady journeys beyond the mud-built ancient capital, Agadez, to a remote region of the Sahara called Gardafawa. He has come to see this thing that has emerged from the sand.
That's it. All right, my friend, we made it.
2 days' drive into the desert, Brady finally arrives at his destination.
There he is. That's the man right there.
The field camp of National Geographic Explorer in Residence, Dr. Paul Sereno.
I have pursued crocodiles all over the planet in, lots of different ecosystems, but never dreamed I would be in the desert looking for a crocodile.
I can imagine. I mean, for us, this is the ideal place to find crocodiles. We have just found a skull that really is about the biggest I've ever seen.
Thrusting up through the sand is the skull of a gigantic beast, a tantalizing clue to a lost world. But this is not the jaw of a dinosaur. These are the remains of an enormous crocodile.
That's what I came to see right there. That's Sarcosuchus?
This is Sarcosuchus, the giant crocodile of the time period here. And we're looking at one huge skull.
It's giant.
It's an absolute monster.
Sarcosuchus imperator, the flesh crocodile emperor.
Unbelievable. Man, it's mammoth.
Yeah.
This is what I came to see right here. That is Sarcosuchus.
This is monstrous.
Man.
Lying down next to it gives you some idea of the size. I'm 5 feet 11 inches, 5 feet 10.5 inches.
That skull is as big as you.
The skull is just a little bit bigger than me, so it's close to 6 feet long.
Oh my gosh.
To understand Sarcosuchus, Paul wants to conjure up the animal's world as it was 110 million years ago.
Well, quite frankly, we're in the middle of a river system with crocodiles and dinosaurs living along the side that are getting dragged down the river. And these rivers were meandering rivers. They were winding rivers, which tells us that the area was pretty flat. And it had muddy sections and it had sandy sections and a rich area of trees, crocodiles. And that's what the story that's coming out of these beds is. That's the kind of environment that existed here 110 million years ago.
It was a world of giants. And among the mighty dinosaurs, there lurked a crocodile that may have been their equal. But how did they interact? Was the SuperCroc prey or predator? Remarkably, today's crocodiles offer clues to help Paul understand their prehistoric relative. And that's where Brady comes in. Brady is one of a select group of field scientists with actual hands-on experience capturing wild crocodiles.
Oh, look at that foot. I've always been fascinated by alligators, even as a small child. But I grew up in the cornfields of southern Indiana. There weren't many alligators there. Went to graduate school in South Florida, where there were a lot of alligators, and I saw these large carnivores living in close contact with humans.
Brady went on to study how this close contact affected the alligator's food supply. By now, he has handled 10 different species of crocodilian on 4 continents.
Keep going! Oh, look, he's got a small fish in his mouth.
If any scientist can get Paul the close encounter with crocodiles that he needs to understand the SuperCroc, Brady can. But first, Brady will get a crash course in the origins of the animals that so fascinate him. The monster seems reluctant to leave its lair, the sandstone that has been its home for more than 100 million years. They have recovered numerous scutes and other bones from Sarcosuchus, but the huge skull is still entombed in the desert. After days of hacking at the rock, Paul's team has nearly carved the skull out of the desert. In preparation for shipping, they give the fossil a protective jacket of burlap and plaster. They will flip the skull over. If they're not careful, they risk cracking the precious bone.
Okay, the moment of truth. Over! Woo! It's okay. Great job. That was great.
We'll keep this plane right here then.
Early next morning, Paul and Brady leave camp and head back to the dig. The mighty skull is finally ready for transport.
Okay, 1, 2, well, okay.
Paul estimates that the skull and the rock that encases it weigh more than 800 pounds. And there are no forklifts out here.
Got it. Okay. Oh, yeah.
The skull is headed on a long journey, some 8,000 miles to Paul's lab in Chicago. Paul and Brady begin a journey of their own, one they hope will culminate in a face-to-face meeting with the SuperCroc. To create an accurate, full-scale model of the beast, bones, flesh and all, Paul has to explore a range of modern crocodilians. And he and Brady will draw on the latest crocodilian research from around the world. How is it that crocodiles have persisted since the time of Sarcosuchus? As the animals around them have evolved beyond all recognition, the crocodiles have just kept eating their way through them. These creatures boast a remarkable collection of survival tools. Among them, their exceptional hunting ability. The crocodile may be the perfect predator. It can lie concealed for hours at a time. Special receptors lining the jaw sense the tiniest movement of its prey. Perhaps its most unique survival tool is an exquisitely adapted heart. A special valve allows the crocodile to actively change the routing of blood through its body. We know of no other animal that can do this. By directing oxygenated blood to the brain, the crocodile can remain submerged and concealed for hours. The crocodile can go without food for a year or more. But when it decides to eat, it is virtually unstoppable. More than 8,000 miles and 110 million years later, the bones finally make it to Paul's lab at the University of Chicago. This is where his detective work really begins.
Yeah, this is great.
Part of the secret to this beast's existence is trapped in its bones. To unlock that secret, Paul aims to reconstruct the skeleton. He and his team will spend months cleaning the fossils, making copies of hundreds of bones, and assemble the vast skeleton.
Fieldwork is sometimes the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, physically and mentally. Now comes the time when you can unwrap those presents back in the lab, when you can take a shower, come in the morning, clean, and take a look at something that you remember, something you were very excited about so many months ago in the middle of a desert. I'm really looking forward to see this animal slowly come into view.
Paul's objective goes beyond the science. To capture the essence of Sarcosuchus, he must build a flesh-on model. The skull is already giving Paul a picture of the ancient croc's formidable eating habits.
Wow. That's quite a set of chompers it's got on the front. That is some muzzle. We'll put it over here.
He believes that its elongated jaws suggest it would have eaten fish. But these prehistoric fish were no trout. Its likely prey were 5-foot-long, bony beasts like lungfish and coelacanths. As Sarcosuchus grew to full size, its jaws became more massive, more robust, suggesting that something even bigger was on the menu. Could SuperCroc have eaten dinosaurs? Most reptiles, even some meat-eating dinosaurs, have relatively delicate skulls, full of air spaces and fragile bones. But the crocodile's skull is fused into an almost solid hunk. It has evolved to silence large and powerful prey. $110 million years ago, the prey was particularly large and powerful. What kind of bite would it take to bring down a dinosaur? To rip through its leathery hide, to crush its huge bones? A big one. The expert on big bites is biologist Greg Erickson, who studies the biomechanics of feeding at Florida State University.
So this is the main breeding lake here?
He is working with Kent Fleet, an advisor to the St. Augustine alligator farm in Florida.
Small adult females.
They've been asked by National Geographic to try and calculate the bite force of Sarcosuchus. Was it powerful enough to take down a dinosaur? Greg has a custom-made bite bar that will gauge the force of a gator's bite. To estimate the bite force of SuperCroc, he will scale this up, way up.
Okay, here we go. Hang on, people.
But she hasn't finished
break it,
rolling,
break it.
and now she has Greg's bite bar wedged between
Just
her
let
teeth.
her down a little bit. Okay.
This animal just generated a snapping bite of 860 pounds, which is an enormous amount of force, and the pressures were extremely high on the tips of those teeth. So if this animal had, say, tried to take out a large prey item, say a deer or something like that, it certainly could have punctured the hide, and obviously it's exerting that kind of force right now. We can't even get our bite bar back out.
To force the jaws open is equivalent to lifting 860 pounds. You'd need a car jack to pry the bar out. 20 minutes later, they finally get the bar back.
We need people.
Greg and team need data from different size animals. They move on to test a large male, not knowing the kind of power this animal's jaws will be capable of.
Good bite.
Excellent.
2125.
What's that, Billy?
2125.
2,125 pounds.
God, that's amazing.
Wow.
Over a ton of force in a split second.
The bite force we measured of 2,125 pounds is the highest bite force ever measured for any animal living today. And just for comparison, the spotted hyena, the bone-crushing champion among mammals, only generates a bite about half that, around 1,000 pounds.
To estimate the bite of Sarcosuchus, Greg must tally bite force against weight. So they have to get this monster onto a scale.
Okay. 662 pounds, 12 foot 2.5. That's a big gator.
But it's a pipsqueak compared to Sarcosuchus.
Clear?
If this animal has the highest bite force ever measured, how big a bite did SuperCroc have? To find out, Greg and Kent want to measure a wide range of different crocodile species.
This is where the teeth came across, so we're going to switch to a little bit bigger bar on this animal for health reasons. Everyone okay?
Careful, careful, careful. Got a root.
Greg's data show that Sarcosuchus had a bite force of around 18,000 pounds. Take this bite and multiply it by 9, you get an idea of the bite of the SuperCroc.
We think that this animal was capable of eating just about anything it wanted. We know what kinds of animals were inhabiting the rivers from the fossils we found right around Sarcosuchus. There were many kinds of very large fish that reached 4 or 5 feet in length. Of course, there were dinosaurs roaming the banks of the rivers. There were plant eaters like iguanodon, sauropods, the long-necked dinosaurs, like our Diplodocus. There were predatory dinosaurs. The young of these animals, something like a 10, 12, 15-foot sauropod dinosaur drinking at the shore, this animal would have no problem dragging it down, much like a Nile crocodile today drags a wildebeest under the water to its untimely death.
Paul knows from Greg's results that Sarcosuchus probably had a strong enough bite to take down a multi-ton dinosaur. But just how much crocodile was there backing up this massive bite? Paul needs to calculate how huge SuperCroc was. But he has a problem. His animal is missing a body. In alligators, research shows a firm relationship between skull length and body length. The two are linked by a kind of magic ratio. If the magic ratio holds for other crocodilian species, Paul can apply it to the SuperCroc. The length of the skull will be the key to finding the length of the whole animal. This expert in beasts of the past needs to measure some of today's crocs. And he knows just the man to help him do it, Dr. Brady Barr. Paul heads into the field, to the Central American country of Costa Rica. This land of rivers and rainforest is home to the American crocodile. Paul travels to the west of the country to the Tarcoles River. Here he meets up again with Brady and his colleague, Juan Bolaños.
This is our guy.
Hey, Brady,
man,
how's it
you have
going?
trouble?
No problem, no
All
problem.
right, Paul Sereno, Juan Bolaños.
Oh, this is the famous Paul Sereno.
Very nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot about you.
Brady has a National Geographic funded research project, radio tracking crocodiles. And this gives Paul an opportunity.
But never placed his hands on a truly giant crocodile.
Yeah.
Really, you don't?
No, this is going to be a great experience.
Oh, look at this, look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is a giant right there.
Through much of its range, the American crocodile is endangered. But Costa Rica has worked hard to protect its crocs. Even here, though, the crocodile is threatened by an expanding human population. As these worlds collide, croc attacks on humans and livestock become more common. In the past, Brady and Juan have captured a number of problem crocodiles and relocated them to more isolated rivers. Brady's research aims to find out if relocation works in the long term, or if the animals end up homing back to their original territory. To do that,
right, let's go.
he has to capture one. This bridge is a major tourist attraction, and the crocodiles are used to being fed. While Brady rings the dinner bell from the bridge, Paul and Juan head down to the river.
He's moving in. He's a monster.
The snaring may appear invasive. In fact, scientists accept it as a standard practice for capturing research animals.
That's a big one, man. He's going nuts. He is going nuts. Just throw the rope to Sereno, Jerry. Throw it.
All right, hang on, we'll be right there.
They have to hurry down to help Paul and Juan subdue the huge croc.
easy until you get it up close. Be careful, this thing can explode out of the water.
Okay, let him go.
That's an angry crocodile. That's an angry crocodile. Yeah, he's trying to get both. See, you got those jaws secured? You got it?
Covering the eyes helps calm the crocodile.
Keep your eye out for other crocodiles. Very dangerous.
To calculate the length of Sarcosuchus, Paul needs to measure this crocodile's head length and body length.
Almost 2 feet.
Yeah. That's why it's important to keep the eyes covered.
Yeah.
When he sees you, he goes for you.
Okay.
I'm guessing this animal's about 12 feet long.
You got it?
Yeah, it's on the tip.
We are a half an inch short of 12 feet.
Really? So it's like 12 feet long.
12 feet long.
That's a big animal.
12 feet long.
Crocodiles are immensely powerful, but they build up lactic acid very quickly, and like a sprinter, they are soon spent.
Take it up.
It takes them time to recover.
He's breathing out, and it's cool. It's cool air coming out of there. Even though he's been exercising like a fiend and fighting us for a half an hour, 45 minutes, and struggling up here on the beach. And it breathes out, and it's like an air conditioner.
Now, was Sarcosuchus in the same arrangement? Were the eyes in the same position with the nostrils on top of the snout like this?
Yeah, the nostrils were on top of the snout like that, and the eyes were, if anything, even further to the top of the skull. It was a sabotage predator, in much the same way, but even more so.
Paul is convinced that Sarcosuchus hunted in the same way as today's crocodiles, sneaking up on prey with just its eyes and nostrils breaking the water. It is a killing technique that has worked for at least 100 million years. Getting this close to a modern crocodile has already given Paul valuable insights into Sarcosuchus.
Okay.
Okay, again. So 1, 2, 3, let's go.
To relocate this enormous reptile, they have to load it into a pickup.
Careful, baby, with the hair. Careful, baby, with the hair.
Yeah.
This place.
We got a 12-foot crocodile. It's about doing us all in.
Oh, wait.
Can you imagine a 30-foot Sarcosuchus?
This animal will be released in the Tuline River, about 20 miles from where it was captured.
You die for free. Okay. No, that's good. You got to put the radio filter on.
First, Brady attaches a radio transmitter so they can track the animal and see if it returns to the Tarcoles.
Yeah, that's great. That's not going anywhere. See if we got a signal. Look at that. He's taking a look at us. Look at that, taking deep breaths.
Brady needs to capture more individuals to get enough data for his study. And Paul wants measurements from a larger animal, the bigger the better, to approximate SuperCroc. The best time to catch a big crocodile is at night, when they are usually less wary. Trying to catch a big, alert crocodile during the day is almost impossible.
Now, Brady, are you worried at all about trying to capture a crocodile with an inflatable boat?
Yeah, let's not talk about it before we go out. Let's get this thing in the water.
To go down one of these rivers on a fragile raft, and you see all the eyes around you and the reeds around the river, it gives you a sense for what one of these crocodiles is like as a predator.
There he is, right there. Look. That's a big one. Look. You see him? Right there. Oh man, that is a good one.
Brady finally manages to snare the beast.
Watch out, he's very close.
Yeah.
Very close here. Right under the boat. I got you back up.
Brady can tell by the weight on the rope that this is a serious crocodile.
Just get to shore. I mean, I got a crocodile right here. How close?
Watch out, watch out. He is right under the boat. I mean, it's strange. It's like slack. I mean, he's not pulling. It's like I'm afraid he's going to bite the boat.
As soon as he realizes that we're not here,
He's under something. Something's going on down there.
It seems that somehow the rope has got snagged underwater.
It's very deep right there, Juan.
There's nothing to do but reach down and free it by
Two
hand.
crocodiles up ahead. Okay.
will you push, push the boat?
Sure.
I mean, push.
They know the enormous crocodile is on the other end of the rope, but where?
Man, this is horrifying. I mean, we got giant crocodiles all over the place. They're splashing around. We got an angry 15-footer on the rope.
For all they know, the crocodile is literally right at their feet.
Watch out. I don't know where he's at, Juan. The rope is down under a rock or something right there.
Juan reaches down into the water, but something is wrong.
You keep an eye out for the croc out there.
He manages to free the rope, but it's still attached to the lurking beast.
You want to?
Yeah, take it.
I got it. So we're gonna cross the river. I see.
We're almost there.
We're almost there. Almost there.
Come on, guys.
There's no way to pull the crocodile ashore on this side of the river. They have to paddle across the current to the other side, towing their huge captive.
Everywhere.
We're there.
They're surrounded by crocs.
Jump out.
I just saw a croc there. Okay.
Croc's coming right towards us. We need
To get on land. Go.
When they finally get a good look at their quarry, they see that it's as long as their boat.
Yeah, set of chompers.
It falls to Paul to cover its eyes.
Watch out. No. Juan, you're going to have to get on the back legs.
Yeah, sure.
I got the back leg.
You have a back leg? No, you have the front legs, my friend.
Baby.
I've got it. I got the back leg. Okay. Somebody get the front legs.
Put your hand like this.
Yeah. I'm all right. He's not going to get me.
And hug him.
Yeah.
Hug him and let's push him out of here.
2, 3. Oh, man. Look at that head. This is the closest you're going to get to a living dinosaur. That is a monster. Juan, this may be the biggest one we've ever captured.
Yes, sir. You bet it.
Okay, let's get this tape measure on him. Whoa. Right there. Wow. 65 centimeters. Wow. That's a big skull.
Big, but less than half the size of SuperCroc's skull.
Enormous.
We got a 14-foot croc.
I knew it was big.
No matter what he does, don't
get
jump.
off. You don't get off. Don't worry about me.
Paul has his data, so they decide to release the animal back into the river.
Whoa. No. Don't get off.
No one's getting off.
Don't get off. Get those legs off the ground.
Paul has never seen a fossil do that.
He's strong.
The animal seems hardly to notice the weight of the 4 men on its back, and it's a fraction the size of Sarcosuchus.
Before we jump,
I know.
we need that jacket again.
Throw me the jacket, please.
Aren't you gonna do the thing? Wait, do it.
Damn! Don't do that.
Baby, do we still have?
The jacket spooked the crocodile, causing it to strike.
Give me a rope. Give me the snare. Give me the snare back. Somebody give me the snare. Okay. Am I doing the count?
Yeah. Count of 3 and not before.
I'm just gonna take this off.
So it'll be lunch meat.
He'll get rid of it.
Let's just do it.
You
Everybody
leave it
ready? No. I'm gonna take it off.
Take it off.
Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Juan, you ready?
Yep.
Okay, when I say 3,
We move.
yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Whoa.
Paul feels he's close to appreciating the essence of this animal, the essence he hopes to capture when he rebuilds Sarcosuchus. He's still not certain of just how big it was, but he uses the preliminary measurements from Costa Rica to calculate that the SuperCroc was well over 30 feet long. Sarcosuchus fascinates Paul and us. Adam Britton is a researcher at Crocodilist Park in Australia's Northern Territory.
Crocodiles are very, very powerful animals. They fight all the time, very territorial animals, and we all know how efficient they are with their teeth. They will rip each other's limbs off, almost without a second thought. They bite each other's tails off, and when they're fighting, the teeth can cause amazing gashes down the side, open the animal up, expose the muscle. If you saw any other animal receiving the same injury, you might think, this animal is a goner. At the very least, it's going to get infected. Bacteria are going to get in there, the animal's just going to die from some kind of septicemia. With crocodiles, it just doesn't seem to happen very often. And so, why? Why not? What is it about these animals that stops them from actually really suffering very badly from these kind of injuries?
Adam helped make the remarkable discovery that one species, the Australian saltwater crocodile, has a natural antibiotic in its blood. This powerful agent may protect the salties from infection. But do all crocodilians enjoy such protection? If so, it may offer another clue as to why crocodiles are such survivors. Adam can't know without more evidence. He needs to test the blood of a different species. Adam heads to the McKinley River, home to a healthy population of freshwater crocodiles.
He's making some distress calls now. Got it?
For the test to be scientifically valid, they'll need to capture several of the animals.
Catch. That's great. Let's go. Good enough. Yeah, let's go. Should be enough. Not a bad one, have I? You got the syringe and the needle. I'm going to try and take a blood sample here from a vein just behind the skull. It's very large and it just sits above the spine.
Naturally occurring antibiotics have been found in many very different animals, from the skin of frogs to the windpipes of cows.
With crocodiles, it's very interesting that they have it in their blood. That's a big advantage for them because it means they can basically get the antibiotic to any part of their body really very quickly. So it's an extremely effective defense for them.
The blood samples are shipped all the way from Darwin to a lab in Newark, New Jersey. Here, Dr. Vicky Kaiser has developed a technique for testing blood for natural antibiotics. She separates the blood into hundreds of samples. Each one is tested to see if it kills bacteria. Five hours later, the samples show results. Around sample number 5, the bacteria were unable to grow. That means that, like the salties, the freshy blood does contain an antibiotic. If crocodiles are as different as salties and freshies both have this kind of antibiotic, then maybe it is common to all crocodilians. It's quite possible that Sarcosuchus too shared this remarkable survival tool. The SuperCroc skull is complete. But to resurrect the whole animal, Paul needs the other 250-odd bones that make up a crocodile. He brought back from the desert bones from various individuals, but never a complete skeleton. Fortunately, he knows someone who can fill in the gaps. This is Stephen Godfrey, part paleontologist, part sculptor. Behind its skull, the Sarcosuchus skeleton is similar to that of a modern crocodile, though it's many times as big. So Stephen uses bones from a contemporary croc and quadruples them in size to match the enormous Sarcosuchus skull. Stephen sends his sculpted bones to Paul in Chicago.
Waiting for him for about a week now. Wow, look at that. Look at this. This is the missing hip bone.
Here, Paul's team makes molds of every bone in the skeleton, which are then shipped to Canada to a company called PAST, Prehistoric Animal Structures. Here they turn disjointed bones into skeletons.
This guy rolls on this thing.
The portrait of Sarcosuchus is becoming clearer. Modern crocodiles have provided a lens through which to view this prehistoric beast. But Paul must still answer two final questions before he can complete the finished SuperCroc. Exactly how long was it? And what pose will best embody its essence? For the answers, he must head into the field again. This time, he seeks a crocodilian that more closely resembles Sarcosuchus. There is such a creature. It is rare, endangered, and exotic. But Paul knows just the man to help him find it.
Driving's more dangerous than the crocodiles, that's for sure.
Paul joins forces once again with field specialist Brady Barr in India, where they headed to a crocodile breeding facility in the town of Lucknow.
There's a lot of work in that.
They are joined by Brady's colleague, Jerry Martin, an Indian herpetologist with expertise in his country's crocodilians.
You don't want it to get it, you don't want it to have to fight against something that's really strong.
The team will work at the Cookrail Gharial Rehabilitation Center.
Where are you looking for? Yeah. Oh, I see. Oh, it's going down. It's going down. There's three of them.
You know, to capture the gharial means so much to me, being a crocodilian biologist, because it was so close to the brink of extinction. I mean, it was right there. I mean, it was ready to be marked off the list. So what an opportunity for me. I mean, it really is a chance of a lifetime.
Jerry Martin, one of the few people in the world with hands-on experience of gharials, knows that this task requires a paradoxical mix of brute force and a delicate touch.
The gharial's specialized jaw is very narrow, proportionate to its body, and it's very thin, and it's a big, heavy animal. It's very muscular because it swims a lot. So when you catch a gharial, it lashes around a lot. You might very easily hurt, damage, or maybe even break off its jaw. So you have to play it like you're catching a 2,000-pound marlin on a 2-pound test line. You need to be very careful.
Brady has his eye on the big male, with the distinctive gara on the tip of its snout. But there are 8 gharials in this pond, and it's the crocodile you don't see that you have to fear. He must have literally stepped on one of the other animals. It reacted by swiping at him, raking his ankle with its teeth.
It's a good thing.
He was lucky it didn't actually bite him.
Just get this guy done with and you can see your legs. That's good. Yeah, it's going. It's out.
Should I just keep going?
Yeah, keep going back.
They finally managed to get a rope around its snout.
Further.
stubby form. Look at it. Look at the...
Okay, can you guys pull him up a little further?
Yeah, we probably need to put him up the stairs here. Get more tight, no, very tight.
Because he's going to jerk. Hang on tight.
Handling this animal, which so resembles its ancient relative, is as close as Paul is going to get to the SuperCroc.
I'm thrilled, of course, to actually be up and actually feel the body of one of these things, because you're normally dealing with these impersonal fossilized bones. This is really up close. It's fabulous. It's unbelievable. 383. 12 feet, 12 and a half feet. 12 and a half feet.
That's a big animal.
Yes, it is. I'm all set up front here.
Paul begins to collect a range of data.
383 centimeter. 55, 62.
Yeah, you're fine, you're fine.
Wow.
Stay still, don't move. Don't move, don't move.
Back in Chicago, Paul now has the critical information he needs to finally calculate the length of the SuperCroc. Using the data from India and Costa Rica, he generates the magic ratio, the relationship between head length and body length in Sarcosuchus.
Based on our measurements on living crocodilians, we think that Sarcosuchus measured 8 times its skull length. That's a lot longer than 20 feet, the record for a living crocodile. That's more than 30 feet. That's a 40-foot crocodile. A croc that even Brady would think twice about jumping on the back of.
Almost a year after they carved the skull out of the desert rock of Niger, and after months spent cleaning and studying bones, after traveling across the globe, capturing and measuring crocs, the culmination of Paul's quest is at hand. In a studio in the Rocky Mountains, SuperCroc is coming to life. Paleoartist Gary Starb is creating the flesh-on model. Now Paul is going to get his first glimpse.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You're a monster.
He is a monster.
Wow. Look at this leg.
It's a massive beast.
Wow, you've got just a beautiful motion going here on this. It's just absolutely gorgeous the way this thing is turning.
It's got that nice side slashing S-curve.
And I love that the way the skull is just tilted and gaping, about ready to swallow you.
Paul can now visualize the dinosaur eater. 110 million years ago, lurking in one of the huge rivers of the day. Its massive body concealed, primed for ambush. A group of juvenile ouranosaurs drinks warily at the water's edge. The SuperCroc's ultra-sharp senses zero in, picking up the ripples from the lapping herbivores. The combination of speed and power is devastating. Its jaws slam down with many tons of force. Huge teeth penetrate the dinosaur's leathery hide. It is a 110-million-year-old drama that still plays out today. For Paul and Brady, there is one last trip to make, one final crocodile to encounter. They have come to see Sarcosuchus, the SuperCroc. Months have passed since Paul last saw the unfinished model. Now the SuperCroc and their quest are complete.
Oh, and it's bigger than I imagined.
That is beautiful. Look at that.
Yeah, that is just beautiful.
And the way he's got all this.
Unbelievable. And the detail is just amazing.
Yeah, no, it's just beautiful. When you see something that is so magnificent, that is so beyond human comprehension in terms of power and size, we tend to be awestruck. The most fundamentally important thing, I think, about Sarcosuchus is to get people to step back and think of 100 million years. Think of how much time has gone before them. Think of how many worlds with strange animals, bigger and more fearsome than they ever could imagine, existed before humans came on to reshape the surface of the earth.
The disappearance of Sarcosuchus shows us that extinction is a fact of life on Earth. But the SuperCroc's legacy is alive in 23 species of crocodile, many of them endangered by the works of man. But today, all 23 species are protected. We know we can speed up the extinction process, but we can also slow it down. If we decide to do so, perhaps these magnificent beasts, the ultimate survivors, will outlast even us.